Hello.
Hello.
All right. I think we're getting close. All right. Hello, everybody. We've got just another minute. I'll give it another minute for folks to arrive, and then we'll get started. And actually, if you would all just be sure to have yourself muted unless you've got a talk, that would be great. And looks like Pam, I see your hand is raised. You are welcome. Hold on, I might need to give you permission to chat. Can you? Yeah. Pam, are you, hold on a second. I gotta change this setting. There you go. All right. I think it's 4 o'clock, so I think we can get started. I want to make sure I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. I'm really excited to have you all here. This is a big moment for us. It's our first webinar. So we're really excited. And I just want to start off with a caveat that I'm sure we're going to have some technical difficulties. I Zoom all day, every day, but the webinar function is a lot different than the way normal Zoom works. So if, of course, we would appreciate your patience, but I'm sure we'll get through it. I think we've got it all figured out. One thing just a little bit of housekeeping I want to say is that it looks like I have to give folks permission to talk if anyone has a question. So I'm giving everyone permission, although if you've got an older version of Zoom, you might not be able to talk. So you would just instead use the Q&A feature. So there should be a Q&A option at the bottom of your screen that you can use if you have any questions. And we hope you all do have questions, because that's where the real fun will come in. So anyway, I'll get right to it. I've got James and Cassidy from my team here with me, and they're going to kind of monitor the Q&A channel to see if there's any questions coming through. And also, if you do have any pressing comments you want to make, there's the raise your hand feature that you can use. So I will jump right in and share the agenda. First, I want to say we had an amazing turnout for this webinar. I think we've had over 90 people register for the webinar, and there looks like a lot of them have shown up here. So that is pretty cool. So today, quickly, I'll welcome everyone. And then the main thing, the most exciting part that I'm excited to share with you all is a kind of an early peek or a sneak peek at our huge new feature that we've been working on. I mean, it must be over a year now, training paths. And so we're in the home stretch. We're just a week or two away from being able to launch it. And I'm going to show you all the prototype, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts. And then next, we've got one of our good friends, one of our sort of super power users, Andrew, is joining us here today. And we asked him to join us on the call, and he's going to share some insights about his experience with Shifty and how they're using it. We'll get more into that later. And then the other subject we wanted to touch on today is checklists and accountability. We sent out a poll to folks before earlier this week, and got lots of feedback and comments about what you all would like us to touch on. The big thing was training. That was the overwhelming response we got, that you'd like us to cover training. So we'll cover a lot of that with the look at training paths. And then the next biggest thing was kind of checklists and how people are using checklists and holding people accountable. So that's what we'll dive into. And then I want to be sure to leave enough time for Q&A at the end. So truly, if you do have questions, that's where the real, that's where the magic will come in a webinar like this. If everyone can share their questions and comments at the end. So I will, Cass, how are we doing? Do we have any comments yet?
Nothing yet.
Okay. All right. I am going to jump right in, and I mentioned I've got James on the call here. James is our director of product, and so he's the guy that really does all the design work and created all the way Shifty looks and feels. And so he's the one that did this great prototype. And James, feel free to chime in or correct me if I say anything that's wrong. So before I get right into training paths, I want to explain that so this is a big feature that we've been working on for, as I said, over a year. We're really, really excited about it. I want to start by saying the way training shifts work today in Shifty, so the training checklists, that is not going to change. We're not going to disrupt the way training works today in any account. We're just additionally going to give you training path functionality. And really what training paths are just a workflow. So everything we're going to show you today are all things that Shifty already does. It's just with training paths, you're going to be able to build this sort of automated flow, and it's going to give you some extra functionality when it comes to training new employees. So as you are aware, you'll have training in the left navigation panel, and there'll be a new thing there called training paths, which I've clicked on. And it'll automatically put you in this training paths overview, which I'm going to save this for phase 2, but the overview obviously is just going to give you kind of a look, an overview of what's going on from a training perspective. But I'm going to move into the library. And first, we're going to talk about what a training path is and how they're created. So this is my library of training paths. In this example, I have a few already created, but we'll go in and we'll create a path together. So I click create path and we'll give it a name. We'll always have this little helper text in here. So I'll just call this new server onboarding, for instance, and then this is where you can, give it a description if you want. You can make training paths location specific, as is the case with anything in Shifty. As you know, everything we do is associated with a location. You would then assign a department or multiple departments if you wanted to for this particular training path. And then one really exciting new feature that training paths will give us is the ability to make training expire, or give you the ability to, like, if you have training that you want to make sure is getting renewed, so like a food safety course or tips training or responsible alcohol, you can ask them to recertify, for instance, and you can put it on whatever cadence you want, monthly, quarterly, annually, and so on and so forth. And then you would go on to the next step here. And this is where we start to build our training path. So I don't have any steps, of course. I'm going to start with add our first step. And these are all the steps that you can add. So I'll kind of go through them sort of one at a time. I'll build a training path like I would build a training path in my own restaurant. Really excited about this new feature, being able to start the whole thing with a message. So this message, it'll behave a little different than the way announcements behave. The interface will feel the same, but these are just a message that will sort of kick off the path. If you had already created messages, they will show here. This is going to show your little library of this type of content, or you can create a new one right from this interface if you're doing it for the first time. But I'll say I want to start this training path with my welcome to the team. Welcome to the team. We're glad you're here. And, I would provide a little information about how their training is going to go. And what to do if they have questions and things like that. So then the next step, the next natural step would be here, this resource. So I might say, okay, they're just starting. I want to start off with their handbook, or I want them to acknowledge their uniform policy, or any resource that's in the system if you want them to review it and acknowledge that they've reviewed it. So I clicked resource. Again, this all throughout the whole process, you'll be able to pick existing content that you have for that type of step, or you can always create a new version of the thing right from here. But I'll say employee handbook, for instance. And then the next step, I would say, okay, it's a day 1 of your training. Let's start with a shadow shift or a follow shift. So I know we're all in restaurants, and we most of us train our employees by doing shadow shifts and follow shifts, which require two people, and that is the way training works today in Shifty. We're changing the way we refer to them with training paths, and we're calling it a guided session, but really it is just a shadow shift. So it's it's this interactive experience that will require a trainer and a trainee. So if I say I want them to start with day one, where they're going to shadow an existing server. And as you know, just these will already be created, just like training shifts are created in your system. And then I might say the next step would be, I want them to review some flashcards. So you'll have the ability to create flashcard decks. And again, I can choose my existing content or I can create new, but I might say, okay, after day one, I want them to review their steps of service flashcards. And then the next step, I might move on to, I'll say I'm going to have them do a flashcard test, the steps of service flashcard test. And then the next step, I might move into day two of their shadow shifting. I'm going to add one more step here, a couple more steps. So a couple I want to point out that we're excited about is this training checklist and survey. I'll start with training checklist. So the training checklist is very similar to the guided session. It's just it's a self-guided training like checklist. So that is a big request we've gotten from most of our customers, is because all our training checklists require a trainer and a trainee. Our customers are asking for the ability to provide training that doesn't require a trainer. So now you'll have your choice. It can be a guided session or just a training checklist that they can take themselves through. They can do it at home or they can do it on their own time. So I would say, maybe at this point, I want them to do a guest hospitality training checklist and read about that. And then the other thing I'm excited about is now you'll have the ability to send a survey. Like my recommendation would be to send a survey midway through the training. Just to kind of check in and see how things are going. Surveys are such a cool way to get information and to learn how things are working. So again, my surveys will be here. I would say I want the training feedback survey. And then just to button this all up, I won't make you guys watch me do it. But for instance, I would go on to say day 3 and day 4. And then I'll say at the very end of it, you could say, finish with a big final exam. So you could, still continue to do training shift, flashcard tests the way it works in Shifty today. You would just build your path that way. So this is, kind of cool. You then have the ability, if you want to move things around, you can move these items up or down if you want to change the order that you created them in. And then when you're ready, you would just save that path and then it would exist. So I'm going to go show you one more thing. How am I doing for time, Cass? Good. Okay. So I want to, before I open it up for comments or questions, I wanted to just quickly show you this training path overview. So now you've created all your training paths. They live here in the library. Now you hire a new employee. What happens? It's time to assign a path. You would just go here to assign the training path. And a lot of this will be automated, just like it is today. When you add the employee, if they have trainee status, you'll probably be able to assign the training there. We're also in the final stages of our Toast integration, so that'll also be another aspect of training paths that will probably happen automatically as you add people from Toast. But you have the ability to assign a path to an individual or even a department. So say you got a new margarita machine that's behind the bar, and you created a training path to explain the recipes and how to set it up, how to clean it, and all of that information. You could just choose to send that training path to an entire department, or you can pick specific individuals, and then you would, say to the next step, and you would choose the training path you want to assign. And then it gives you a moment to review before you actually assign this to the employee to make sure you did it right. And then you would complete it. And now that training path has been assigned to the employee. And now here on the overview, there's some cool, we're working on a lot of new like overview views in checklists and training paths and things like that. But this is going to give you sort of a high level overview of what's happening. There it's showing me here. I've got 3 people training. I've got this one training that needs attention. That needs attention likely means that you need to assign the trainer where a trainer is required. You can click in and see exactly where people are in their path. So I can see here this person, Morgan, is on their final step. They're in the process of taking their quiz. I think this one has. So you can see here, this person has completed these 4 steps. They're currently doing this step, and they still have a few steps to go. So you can get a good overview of what's going on. So that is, and then of course, a little bit of detail up here. James, before I move into the mobile app view, I'll probably let you do that, but am I missing anything here?
No, I was just gonna say, in terms of like the guided checklist and how that all works, everything, in case anybody has any questions for how it works today, it's going to work basically exactly the same as it does today with the guided path. So you'll still have the ability to add a resource to a checklist item if you want that resource to be reviewed while they're in training as a shadow shift. So everything can work exactly the same way it is today. We're just opening up the ability for you to reorder things or complete things in different stages, or even be able to provide resources sort of outside of the like formal in-session training. So you could have people review things before they come, or see certain things or interact with certain things without needing to begin that official session, which should be able to give you a lot more flexibility in how you're providing training to employees.
Awesome.
Sydney with yellow hammer just got in with the question.
Awesome. I think we have a question from Sydney. Let me make sure you've got the ability to chat. Yeah, you do. Hey, Sydney, go ahead with your question. I think I know what it is.
Hey Beth, yeah, I had put it in the question and answers. I was just checking to see. It sounds like it with what James said, but that it's still going to be one trainer per session, so we wouldn't be able to switch out like trainers within that one session for the guided sessions.
We were talking a lot about that just today, Sydney. We're thinking that the way we would encourage you to handle that situation is to treat it like a self-guided training session, and then because I know you've got a special case where sort of they kind of go in and out of working with different people. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So James, that's the one you and I chatted about. So we might need, I might connect you with James after this, later outside of this webinar, Sydney, to get a little more information there. That is something that they're thinking about. Probably for the first release of this, the workaround would be to just do a self-guided checklist. Is that right, James? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, so you'll be able to, in the sort of version 1 of this or MVP version, you'd be able to change the trainer all the way up until that initial like shadow shift or guided session begun. Um, Being able to change it mid-session does have some implications that we need to work through, so that'll probably be like a quick follow. But yeah, the workaround for right now, if that was a priority from day one, would be to just assign it as a training checklist.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. Awesome. All right. I'm going to kind of jump into the mobile app view of how this is going to look for the employee. And James, I think you might be the better person to show this, or should I muster through?
No, I can share it if you want me to.
Yeah, I think you have sharing ability.
I think I have the power now, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Let's see how that works. Does everybody see that screen?
Yep, let's do.
You're seeing a screen? Because I don't. Oh, I can. Yes, 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 I do. Awesome. All
Okay,
right.
great.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Got it. Okay, great. So, with the sort of as because this is such a big feature, the we're trying to roll this out in a way that's not going to be like crazy disruptive to how you guys are using Shifty as is. So as we get adoption and we're learning more about how users are using it, we're slowly going to migrate this to be a lot more of an immersive experience and more features and that kind of thing. So our initial plan for rollout is to utilize this kind of the same way that you're seeing training tiles today, but just way more featured. So if you were assigned a training path, we're looking at the employee view here. I have a little toggle, so I'm going to be able to show you the employee view kind of versus a manager or a trainer view. So as it is now, we're looking at it from the employee perspective. So they would see that they have this would be a training path that's in session, and then a training path that they haven't started yet. They might be assigned a few training paths at once. So this would be one that they are in progress. If we click into this, they'll be able to see their active step or next step at the top, so they can quickly access that. And then they would see a history here of all their steps that they completed, anything which they're available to click into or start right away, and then anything that's coming up all the way until they complete their path. So in this case, this would be a shadow shift here, who their trainer is. They could click into that. And then as you see, this is very similar to, how we're kind of working with training sessions today. So that is how you would interact with the path as an employee or as a trainee in this initial version. And then if you were to click into one of these, this would obviously start as a prototype. So not every version of function is here, but you would see this as a brand new path and be able to click into your messages and that kind of thing. So. When it comes to a manager's training or a manager's view, you're going to see a couple different things. First off, if you're a trainer, you're going to have a trainer tile versus the trainee tile. Of course, a trainer at any point may also need to get trained, so they would also see any trainings that they were currently in. And then as a manager, you're going to see a manager tile. And there's a few different states. You'd never see all of these states all at once. You only see one manager state. But these are all of kind of like the different states that this tile could potentially be in, depending on what different, do you have anything that you need to address with any of your trainees? Is everybody done? Has nobody started? So you'll be able to see a lot of really useful information really, really quickly with these new views. I'll start with the trainer. So if you were the trainer view here, this would only surface anytime you were a trainer for either the guided session or a flashcard test. So you wouldn't see the entire path that they're on. You'd only see the training that you're actually, in session with that particular trainee with. Which will keep it nice and clean. These will only pop up if you get assigned as a trainer. And then this is a cool view here. And I'm excited about this because we've gotten a lot of feedback in terms of like, well, if I'm a manager and I'm on the floor and I'm on my phone, how do I manage a lot of this stuff? Because up until now, a lot of what you've had to do from a manager's perspective has been in the web app. So you've needed to be on a computer, or the interface on the phone hasn't been, as great as it should be necessarily for a manager or a trainer. So this is bringing kind of our first attempt at bringing in a lot more manager functions actually into the native mobile experience. So in this example here, I'm going to show you we have a couple of trainees that have not yet been assigned a trainer. And so you see that we have two action items here. So if we click in, we see that Sarah J here, she's about to do her shadow shift, but she's blocked because she doesn't have a trainer yet. So we're trying to basically prioritize items that are blocking or need the most attention because somebody can't do what they're needing to do in the moment. So really simply, you'd see any of your trainers available, you'd click them and you'd click assign, and boom, Sarah J is ready to go. Similar here is Mike T. He has an up and coming training that doesn't have a trainer yet, but he's not yet blocked. So you'd see some information here that would say, okay, this guy needs some attention, but it's not so bad that he actually can't move forward with what he's doing. again, you could just go in and quickly assign that, and then he'll turn blue and say, okay, we're good to go. So being able to bring some of that functionality, immediately into the mobile app, it's going to be really exciting, as well as the ability to, if you were like, oh no, I know Alex is coming in, but Morgan's going to be off, so let me reassign that training really quick. So being able to look into that too and do some of those reassignments in real time is really exciting. Um, little bit of overview here to see, how many people you have in progress, how many people have completed, and the completed will be basically within a recently completed. So we'll give you kind of a set time frame. You wouldn't see everybody who has completed, but maybe within the last week or month or so. And some other quick things, being able to search or filter by different departments and just quick ways, easy ways for you to be able to view and say, oh, what is Sarah's, where is she at? Maybe she's on the long list, but you can quickly grab and click in and see where she's at in her training. So that's it for the
Cool.
mobile app.
Awesome. Thanks, James. All right. So I know we are saving some time at the end of this for more questions and answers, but Cass, is anyone got any burning questions right now?
Does have a question about the level of integration. Is it employee importation, item description, importation?
Kyle Schuler's questions you're saying?
In the chat.
Yeah. If it's okay, I'd love to put a pin in that one and answer that one at the end. So we'll move on and get to the next part here. I know, as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we sent out a survey asking folks like what's on your mind, what are people struggling with, what would you like to talk about and hear about. As I mentioned, the big thing is training. Training consistency is coming up a lot. So the bulk of the people said they'd love to hear about, training consistency across locations, new hire onboarding challenges, and then some checklist stuff. But because of that, we invited, as I mentioned, our good friend Andrew from Valley Dairy, who's here with us today, and Andrew has been an awesome, that whole group, Valley Dairy, is a group in Pennsylvania, really cool concept. They've got 13 locations, and they have been powerhouse users of Shifty, especially in when it comes to training. So we asked Andrew if he would join us and let us kind of hear his take on training and how they're using it. And then we'll dive in and ask some questions. So Andrew, are you here with us?
Yes, I am, Beth. Thank you.
Awesome. Hi. Thank you so much for being here.
Not a problem. I appreciate the invite.
Of course. Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind, we'd love to, start just by hearing a little bit about, your group and your concept, and then we'll get right into hearing about training.
Yeah, absolutely. So Valley Dairy originated in 1938. The restaurant started in the 50s. It is a family-owned and operated concept. We have 13 locations, actually pretty close to probably working on 14 and 15 as we speak.
Wow.
Personally, great company to work for. Awesome workplace culture. But again, like I said, it is all family owned. Like we have a corporate, but it's all one family, and then people who have been with him for 20 or 30 years now.
Wow. That's so cool.
It's huge, but it's all American diner style. We're operating 12 to 14 hours a day, depending on the location. Breakfast is our main big seller, kind of like a first watch, but we're actually open for dinner and everything like that too. But really great options, really great people. And I'm super excited about Shifty. I know my company is very, very set in the fact that, we got to be careful making progress and moving forward into the future, but they're starting to get a lot of younger people in. So Shifty has been the biggest jump in their technology in quite some time. And it has greatly helped improve our standard operating procedures that we do, especially surrounding training and scheduling.
Yeah. So before Shifty, how were you training? Were you using paper?
Oh yeah, it was paper. I mean, we had we had a great training program, and it was organized into packets for your cooks, your servers, your hostess, your managers. But just for a perfect example, the manager training booklet was 497 pages, and every single manager that was onboarded got a printout of that.
Oh,
Our servers, it was 90 pages. Cooks were
wow.
75. And that was just the bare basic minimums of your 5 to 6 day training course. That didn't
Wow.
include any of the extras where you printed, the handbooks and the policies and things like that. So it was definitely way, way, way involved. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the implementation process with you guys was quite a big lift on our part and your part. I know
Yeah.
and just full transparency, it wasn't all rainbows and fairy tales. Like we had our bumps along the road, but we got through it. I know James who is our director of product and also heading up support, James and the Valley Dairy folks have gotten very close, but
Mhm.
so now would you say you're through with implementation and you're fully using training shifts now? No more paper?
Yes. I would say 99%. I definitely know we still have a GM or two that might be a little headstrong on their concept of, oh, I have to have the paper, I have to physically have that. But for the most part, everybody has transitioned for at least all of the training and the onboarding procedures, as well as like new menu rollouts and stuff like that. They've all been implemented into the Shifty platform.
Oh, cool. So your restaurant having been in operation for so long, I'm sure you've got some, what do we call them, lifers in the industry, right? I'm sure you've got some folks that have
Yes,
been with you.
we definitely do. We celebrate, believe it or not, we celebrated a dishwasher here about 3 months ago that was 30 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, a dishwasher. Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know with the fact that you've got such an integrated now in the training shifts with Shifty, is it mostly just impacting your new employees?
No, not at all. So like for obviously for our training and bringing onboarding new employees, absolutely. It's been a fantastic success for us so far. But we still use it for all of our old employees. Anytime an employee might need a refresher, we can absolutely assign them that training again and say, hey, listen, you might need to go over, food safety, or you may need to go over something that we do as a company is the 10-step program with their servers. It's how we want you to properly serve a table from start to finish. So if
Mhm.
somebody's struggling with that, we reassign it to them. As well as every 2 to 3 months, we launch a LTO or a limited time offer menu. It's our feature
Mhm.
menu. We have to
Mhm.
train all the staff on that every single time. So every single person that we have in our company, besides a handful who still don't have cell phones because they're just that older generation, they've all been processed into the learning through Shifty. So they've done all their trainings and everything like that. And it's just been fantastic because it's much easier to track that everybody's gotten all the information.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. Do you are you getting any feedback from your new employees that are going through the new server onboarding or new employee onboarding?
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, it's funny that you say that because I just finished a cook training today with one of my people that's worked for us for a while, but then just recently wanted to start learning to cook. And they were trained the old way. They were trained with the paper packets and everything like that. And they started training today with the digital format through Shifty, and they were just amazed at how much of a difference it made and how much more retention they had because they didn't feel so overwhelmed. It wasn't, hey, here's, a giant booklet that you got to start with and read every single line item and go through every single page. So it was beautiful to get that feedback from somebody who's worked with the old system and now the new system and been able to actually
Yeah.
enjoy it.
That's
That's
amazing.
so cool.
This was not planned, you guys. I swear. We couldn't have planned that any better. That's awesome. No, that's really cool feedback. That would be a rare situation that you could get that sort of perspective on both ways.
Absolutely. It kind of made me feel really good that, we are moving in the right direction with things.
Yeah. Has it been hard for you to like figure out how to navigate Shifty and how to kind of make it all happen?
Um, I'll be 110% honest, Beth.
Please, we
For
want you
for
to.
me, absolutely not. Not in the slightest. I am great with it. I have no issues. Most of my assistants and the managers that I've worked side by side with have done very well with it. I will absolutely point out that the older managers that we have that are not super technologically savvy, I
Hmm.
mean, two of our guys still have flip phones.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, as long as if you can operate, Microsoft Outlook as an email and use a
Hmm.
Word document and an Excel formula, and you know how to operate Facebook, you can
Hmm.
pretty much figure out Shifty. It's pretty simple and pretty easy once you get the hang of it.
Yeah. Yeah, but that is thank you for sharing that. It is it is true. Like we do, run into that where for some new folks, technology, any kind of new technology can seem a little overwhelming for folks. So it is a real problem that we deal with on a daily basis. And it's but so do you think they're still continuing to are you starting to see improvements with some
Oh,
of those
yes,
other folks? Yeah.
we absolutely are. And I'll tell you, Beth, what we found that worked really well was not rolling it out to everybody all at one time. And I think you
Hmm.
remember that in the beginning, we started with one or two locations, and then
Hmm.
we would slowly do integration into each location
Hmm.
because it's a lot easier to learn it yourself when you're doing it with two or three people than it is trying to launch it, learn it, and operate 15 to 30 different managers and get them to understand it. And then you have employees that have all these questions. And then you're overwhelmed as the person who's in charge of, the rollout. So
Hmm.
iron out all the bugs with one or two or three people, get things
Hmm.
situated, and then integrate store by store. And it went off without a hitch for us.
Yeah, that's cool. Can you talk a little bit about how you like drove adoption at the store, or maybe day in the life of an employee at your store and how they interact with Shifty?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we use the scheduler and the training side of things. So
Hmm.
my guys are constantly checking their schedule. That's
Hmm.
just hands down something easy to point out. They don't have to call in anymore and find out what the schedule is. They don't have to text anybody and say, "Hey, do I work Saturday or what's going on?" There's no.
Hmm.
One of my staff just said the other day, "It's so nice that I don't have a camera roll full of just schedule photos that I always forget to delete because I would take pictures of the schedule every week." So for that, that's been a fantastic side for them. For the training side, having all of our resources and our recipes no longer in a giant thick binder, but
Hmm.
available at the touch of their fingers, whether it's on the phone or the tablets that we use, has been great
Hmm.
for them, especially our new employees. They're
Hmm.
they're able to walk through and just grab that instead of trying to hunt down a manager and waste time. They can just look up the recipe themselves and figure it out. Plus, it's really great. We have a lot of resources in there for like our payroll system and how to if you want to change your direct deposit or if you want to do things like that. So our employees can constantly look up those resources and see, what's the route you have to go here? How do you go about taking care of this? Instead of constantly bogging down a manager every single day with all the different questions that can be answered just by specifically looking at their phone and searching for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you're an even better user than I am in my own restaurant. So that's impressive.
Listen, I love technology, and if I can make it easier on myself, I absolutely will.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that I have about 100 more questions for you, but I know that I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we should wrap up. But I'd love to know, does anyone have any last couple questions for Andrew before we let him go? I don't know if it's probably it's so hard to know who is needing to ask questions, but I just have one more question. Um, and I lost it. You didn't use a scheduling platform before Shifty?
No, no. Well, I have personally at other jobs, but not as a company. We did not. We were still handwriting schedules and are doing them in Microsoft Excel.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, James, do you have any questions for Andrew?
No, I mean, I think the only thing that comes to mind is like, if there was one thing that you feel like had the biggest impact from Shifty that you found, or even like a personal takeaway from using Shifty, something like that, perhaps.
I mean, honestly, the biggest impact that Shifty has had for us as a company is the accountability. It's being able to, at any level, whether it's our corporate, our director of training, or myself as a GM or my assistants, being able to just jump into the web app and look and see, who's onboarded, who's not onboarded. Do we need to assign more trainings? Have they completed things? It's genuinely just the streamline of everything that has made my job so much easier, because I'm not constantly tracking down employees every single day, every single shift, which allows me to then focus on not only the quality of life that my employees have, but the service that we're able to offer our customers. So genuinely, that's got to be the biggest upside for me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. I know you've got a time crunch, so you feel free to hang on with us or bounce if you need to, but I can't tell you how much we appreciate you being here. It's so cool to hear a real live perspective.
Absolutely, Beth. Thank you so much. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch the end of it in the recording. I appreciate it.
Amazing. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Um, all right. So I am going to move on. I'm going to share my screen. I know one of the big bits of questions that, like I mentioned, that we got was checklists, accountability, and how that's all working. We have launched a couple of really cool new features and checklists that I would imagine most of you or all of you probably may not even be aware of. I want to just quickly run through and show. I'm actually going to go into another account here and show. So we have this, because in my demo account, I don't have a way to, I don't have someone doing checklists every day in my demo account, but we added this grid view. So when you go in to look at a checklist, you can either look at it from an entry perspective. So you can look at, every time the checklist was completed, and you can click into one and see the details. Or you can look at the items. So I could say, I want to see every time the rear door was unlocked, for instance, and see a history of that one particular item. Or you can see this grid view. This grid view is so powerful, and we're really excited about this new feature. You've got this time, a time filter, so you can change the length of time that you're looking at, but it gives you a really good high-level overview of what's going on. This was a request from another customer several customers who use checklists quite a little bit. So I wanted to run and show that. And then I'm going to switch locations here. And then the other feature I wanted to show is that we created a new checklist, checklist item type, I guess we call it. So if I go into this checklist, sorry, let me fix my screen here. I want to make sure you all are aware. So I'm going to add an item. I'm going to say sample thing, and you have the different checklist item types. So it can just be a check mark only. You can do short text. You can do long text. The real cool difference between short text and long text, obviously, besides short and long, is that a short text, if it's a short text thing, it'll show you in the list itself when you've entered that value. So I'll show you that in a minute. But and then number, this is the new one. So if I go here into number, I'm saying this checklist type. I want it to be, it's asking what is the value. So it can be like no special value. So it can just be a number. It can be a Fahrenheit, like a temperature, a Celsius, or a dollar amount. The common use is Fahrenheit. So this could be, take a temperature of the thing, the cooler, for instance, and then you have the ability to set a range. So if you pick this set range, you can set the minimum and maximum. So my cooler, I want it to be no lower than 38 and no higher than 41, for instance. And so now when the person filling out the checklist completes that item, and I'll show you, if it's out of range, it reports on the back end. So I'll come full circle here. Hold on. Did a lot of, so if I go here into my checklist and go into this manager opening checklist, this is the one that is asking for the number. So I'll make this, I'll say my cooler is 58. Uh-oh. And then I'll click submit. We don't have it alert the person filling out the checklist at this time. This may be down the road. I would love to get feedback from people to see if you'd like it to. Our thought is we don't want the person to just change their answer because they got an alert. We want to know on the back end, was there an issue? So then if you go in here, I'm going to refresh my screen. And then let's see, where is it? Opening and there. So you can just see I got that notification that there's an out of range item. I can go in and see which was the item that was out of range. The walk-in cooler temperature was out of range. So two cool new features on checklists. I know we are nearing the end of time, and like I said, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. If you have questions and you want to stay late, I am happy to stay on and answer more questions. We do, go ahead, Michaela. I know you've got a question. Let me see if you've got the ability to. You might have been one. I'm not seeing, where is she? Oh, there she is. Yeah, you should be. Michaela, you are muted. Let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, we will move on, but I do want to just say I have where'd they go? There we go. I put together a quick little poll. I'm just gonna launch it if you feel like it. Would love for you to answer these questions. And while we wait, if anyone else has any questions, you feel free to shoot. Let's see. There's the Q&A. Any questions in the channel, Cass?
Nope, channel.
Awesome. Michaela, I don't know if you are there, but I know you had your hand raised, so feel free to ask your question if you have it. And if not, we'll wrap up. It looks like we got lots of answers coming in on the poll. I'll share the results on the poll when we send the recording of this meeting. But as always, we're always here. Feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions, comments, feedback. We'd love to hear it. And here's to hoping that those training paths launch here in the next couple of weeks. I think. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody.
Oh,
What
we
is
have some
it?
questions coming in the chat.
Oh, yeah, actually there is, if you're still here, Toast integration timeline. So we did complete already phase 1 of our Toast integration. So we are connected to Toast in a couple of accounts. If you're interested in being a beta tester for us, reach out to me directly and I'll get you connected. So we've successfully made the connection. Now we're pulling the data and we are doing the coding work that we have to do on our end to figure out how, to surface it for you in a useful way in Shifty. The integration, what it's going to do, first and foremost, it's going to help you with the single sign-on thing. So when you add an employee to Shifty, or into Toast, it'll automatically put them in Shifty. There's a whole bunch of scheduling benefits that will bring, like comparing actual hours worked to scheduled hours worked and pulling over some historic sales data so that you can properly forecast for scheduling. And then the real exciting part, which will be phase 2, is the ability to do contests, performance and sales contests, incentives, and rewards. So you'll be able to set like contest campaigns, like whoever sells the most margaritas in the month of May wins a prize. And you'll be able to actually disperse prizes, gift cards, cash, or you can create a company store where you can just have internal prizes. So some really exciting things. That'll probably be the next big subject or the next topic at next month's webinar, where we'll dive into the employee contest incentives and rewards. Are there any other questions, Cass? Okay. We will absolutely send a recording of this webinar out to everyone who joined and folks who didn't join as well. And thank you so much for being here.